Hello, hello. This is Chris Price Music with Sibelius Scholar, and my goal is to make you very efficient with Sibelius. So you just installed Sibelius, and now let's go ahead and open it up. By the way, if you ever need to update Sibelius, the updater never works. You'll have to download it again from the website. So when you open it up, this little ditty will play. It's actually possible to change the Sibelius startup sound, and I'll show that in another video. So you just open up Sibelius, and now you have all these options. You can learn about Sibelius, which you're doing right here by watching this video, but they have their own pre-made videos as well. You can create a new score, and one based on a template that they give you. You can look at your recent scores. You can import MIDI files, XML files, as well as a few other things, and catch up on the latest Sibelius news. So let's go ahead and create a new score to learn Sibelius with. So I'm going to click on blank, and if I single click it, I get this menu. Inside this menu, I can set up the document, but I don't want to do that. I just want a blank file. So let's double click it, and now we have a blank file. Welcome to your first time using Sibelius. Up here, you have a ribbon, just like on any Microsoft program. Then over here, you have your parts panel. If you click over here, there's no parts yet, but when we add parts, we'll be able to create new tabs that show the parts. This is your keypad. Let's ignore it for now, but it'll be very important later. You can zoom in and out with this scroll wheel right here. You can also change your view. This is the panorama view, and a few other ones we won't notice a difference until we create more pages. You can also lock the score, so that way you're only viewing it. To navigate the score, we can simply click and drag. You can either right click or left click and drag and move around. Get used to this because you're going to be clicking and dragging a lot. If you want to zoom in, you can either use this down here, or you can hold down Control and scroll up or down. Moving around, you can also scroll up and down, or hold down Shift and scroll left and right. I use a mixture of all of these to navigate my score. So let's go ahead and add an instrument and get working. Let's go up here to add or remove. This is our add or remove wizard. I'm choosing all instruments, but you can browse through different categories. Let's go with common instruments. I want to add a piano, so either I can go inside keyboards and find piano, or I can search piano. Now that I've added piano, there's two staffs inside here, the treble and the bass. If I want to remove a staff, I can click delete from score and it will not add that. But I do want both, so let's add that in there. And let's say I want a third staff. I can add it above or below the selected staff. Let's add it above. This all is still one instrument. I can also change the staff size by clicking this menu over here, but I always just leave it at 7. Let's say I want to add another instrument. Let's go with the French horn. Now the French horn is way up here, but I want it below it. I can just move it down, and it moves down. You can also select multiple instruments and move them around. Now I just want to clear everything that I have, so let's delete that, and let's just have a simple piano. Okay, now we're ready to begin. Be careful when you're dragging and moving around, because you can accidentally drag items. Now what's great is there's a Control-Z option, an undo option, just like in most programs. And if you want to redo, you can do Control-Y and it redoes it. Or you can go down here, do undo and redo. What's really nice is selection is also undoable. So if I select all of this, but I decide I only want to select this, I can undo it. This is perfect for if you're trying to grab specific things and you mess up and click something else. I can Control-Z it, and now I'm back to only selecting these things. Very handy. So we have our instrument, but we have no key, we have no time signature, we have no tempo, I have none of that. Now because tempo and time signature are stuff I don't need to use super often, I don't mind going up here to the ribbon. But we want to avoid moving our mouse up to the ribbon as much as we can. The more we're on the keyboard writing, the faster we'll be. Shortcuts will be our best friend, but I don't want to overwhelm you with all that just yet. We have our common things up here, and these are very common. We see these on all sorts of music. So we can go ahead and choose our keys. Now, first thing, I want to make sure I'm not selecting anything at all. So if I have something selected but I don't want to, I can either click on an empty spot, or what might work better is pressing escape. So now let's go ahead and add a key signature. I want to go with D major. Now you can see that my cursor is blue, and what this means is that it's ready to place something. So you want to be as close to the bar line as possible. I like just clicking on the clef. It always works well for me. But let's say I want to change the key later. Again, I want to make sure I'm not selected on anything. I'm going to press escape. I'm going to grab the key signature, change it to A major down the line, right here. I always try to go as close to the bar line as possible. But you know what? I actually don't want to do that. I want to keep it as D major. Now let's give it a time signature. We have this whole menu full of wonderful things that we can do. Or if we want to give it something weird, we can go ahead and do 9/8. We can do 55/8 if we want to. Or we even have more options. And this gets pretty complicated down here, so I'll have another video about that. But I'm assuming most of you guys are going to be writing in simple meters as up here. So let's go ahead and do 4/4. Let's place it again on the clef. And if we're having a time signature change later, we can either select the bar line, change the time signature, or we select the time signature and click it as close to the bar line as possible. There it is. Next, we need a tempo marking. So let's go over to our text. And text is where all the magic happens. That's where we have expressions, techniques, etc., all sorts of things. But let's just worry about the tempo for now. So there's a lot of things that we can use. Tempo or metronome mark. These two are pretty much synonymous. I'm not sure why there's two separate things. I guess one is meant to be without words and one has words. But let's go ahead and use either one. So I'm going to go ahead and use this basic one. And I want to say andante, walking speed. So I'm going to go ahead and press space. Now, how do I get a chord note in there? There's a couple ways we can do that. We can right click, and now we have this menu. This menu lets us select items that we want. So I can go over here and I could do a chord note. Another thing we can do is we can come over here where this has none. This means that there's no special effects going on. This is just text, and we can change our font. We can do all sorts of fun things, change the style. But if I change it to music, now we're in a different font completely. And some keys make sense, some keys really don't. Like I don't know what W does. W does a whole note, and that makes sense because W for whole. So if I want a chord note, Q for quarter. Makes a lot of sense. Awesome. So we can go space, and let's go back to regular text. So let's click none. We do equals, and then set it as whatever you want. I'm going to go with andante, so it's 90. Perfect. We have created our tempo, we have a key, and we have a time signature. Let's get some notes going. So one thing I love about Sibelius is I don't have to leave the keyboard very often. And what that means is I don't have to worry about a MIDI keyboard. I do have one, but I use it maybe 2% of the time when I'm writing. I oftentimes will use it to see if something will sound good before I notate it. So right now we're in selection mode. And what that means is that we're just selecting things. Like I selected this guy, I can drag him around. Let's put him back. I can select the staff, drag that around. Let's put it back. Now, if I want to get into notation mode, I'll press N. And now we have some things going on. So I can go here and I can click where I want my chord notes. Perfect. Be careful about location, because as you can see, I clicked it over here and now created a rest. Let's press escape to get out of notation mode. Now we have this selected, because that's what we just selected. We can press escape again. Now we're selecting nothing. So we just created some notes. But did you notice that the keypad was doing something weird when we were in notation mode? Let's go back. Let's delete all that. To delete, you can either press backspace or delete. Let's go back into notation mode. Aha, now the fun's going to start. So as you can see the keypad, we have this lit up. Now we can change it if we want a half note. We can click the half note. Now we're in half note mode. Whole note, etc. As you can see, if I do a sharp right here, I can throw a sharp inside there. So I want this to be an A sharp. That's now an A sharp. Let's go ahead and press Control Z to get rid of that. Now, why it's called a keypad is because this lines up with your keypad. If I press keypad 1, bam, I'm now on a 32nd note. Let's press keypad 2, I'm on a 16th note. Now, this might be a bit of a struggle for Finale users because if you used Finale before Sibelius like I did, you'll notice that everything is shifted over by 1. Let's go back to quarter note. Now, I can add a sharp to it by pressing 8. So let's go ahead and add the A sharp again. Awesome. Now, if I press left or right, I get out of notation mode. I'm now in selection mode, but I'm still moving around, and I can move things up or down. So that means if I place a note, but I realize I placed it in the wrong spot, let's move it down, and we just lost our sharp. So we can put it back by pressing 8 or clicking over here. Now bear with Sibelius a little bit. It gets weird sometimes. Let's say I want this to be natural. I'll put it as natural. And now we have the natural there, but it's already natural. We don't need this accidental. So let's get rid of it. Weird things like that will happen a lot. Just a quirk of Sibelius to get used to. We can also press the slash on the number pad to add an accent. And we could do the star to create a staccato. And then the minus for a tenuto. Makes sense. They kind of look like that. Now, if I want to rest when I'm inside notation mode, so let's go back to notation mode by pressing N. First of all, you'll realize where the blue line is where we're going to start notating. And it's behind this note right here. So that means whatever we put will overwrite it. So if I put an E, it'll overwrite it. Let's go ahead and Control Z, get back here. Let's say I want to rest. You just simply press 0 for the rest, because that's where it is down here. This right here just does the backspace, and this is the undo and redo. If you ever wonder what each thing does, you can just hover your mouse over it and it'll tell you. And then this right here, what's going on with this? So if you use finales before, you'll know layers, and I still call it layers, even though it's called voices in this program. But you have 4 voices to choose from. And if you ever want to switch, you just come down here and change it. And now you can see it's changing colors. Again, wherever this is where it'll start notating. So if I change it to voice 2, where it's green, and I press D, now I have a D right here. And now I have all these extra rests going on. Using several voices can get pretty complicated, so I'll make another video about that. For now, let's just stick with one voice. So I'm going to Control Z, go back to voice 1. For the future, if I want to quickly switch voices, I can just hold down Alt and press 1, 2, 3, or 4. But let's go back to 1 for now. Now you may notice there's a few other things going on with this keypad. Chord input and moving the notes around, we don't really need to use that in our scenario. But these other things are very important. So either you can click through here and look at them all, or if you press plus on your keypad, it'll move them. If I hold down Shift and plus, it'll move back to the start. Don't press Control plus. That's what I just did, and it moves the view right here. Shift plus will move it back to this first menu right here. This menu being called Common Notes. So let's go ahead and look at what else there is. We have grace notes. We have more smaller and bigger weird notes right here. We also have a bar rest. So if I want to get rid of this bar completely, I'm going to go to the left, press 0, and now the entire bar is that. We also have ways to beam our music. We have feathered beaming. We have fermatas and more articulations right here. You have up bow, down bow, marcato. What's really annoying is how the marcato is way over here instead of the common notes. I believe marcato is very common. I have a way to get around that, and I'll show you later. Then over here we have repeats, and we have some jazz articulations, plops, duets, all sorts of fun stuff. Then over here we have more advanced accidentals. We have half sharps, double sharps, all sorts of fun stuff. Now this right here is my favorite, a bracketed accidental, because I love courtesy accidentals. They're my favorite. Let's say in my music right here, I'm going to go with C natural, D, D, B, back to C sharp. As you can see, it didn't make it a courtesy accidental. It made it an accidental accidental. And in my opinion, I think that's very bad practice. So I'm going to go over and change it to a courtesy accidental. Now be very warned of this feature, because you can make a courtesy accidental out of any accidental. This right here Now that's a courtesy accidental, but that doesn't make much sense because you're not being courteous right there. That's an uncourteous accidental. Let's go ahead and remove that uncourteous accidental. Spam, we have this right here. And now let's say I want to hear my music. We just simply press space to start it. Beautiful. We can press space again to stop it. Now, what if I want to change the location of this playback bar? We select the bar we want or the note we want. I can even do this note right here and press Y. And Y will snap that right here. So now we can start listening from right here. But let's say I want to start listening from right here. We go Y right here. Other easy navigations, if you use the brackets, you can move left and right per note. It will play back each note, which is kind of annoying, and it skips rests, so I don't use this one very often. But if you hold down Control and go bracket left, you'll go to the start. Bracket right will get you all the way to the end, which when you play it, will start at the start again. So it's pretty much the same feature. Awesome, we have some basic music going. What I highly recommend is getting used to notating the notes in the keyboard. What I like to do is try to challenge myself. Literally play scales inside the software and see how good you do. Like that. I just made a scale. Now what's really nice about the software is, let's say that's the wrong octave. I want to move that down. You can simply just press the arrow keys down. But that takes a while. If you hold down Control and press up or down, it will jump octaves. Same with if I want to go back here, I can move that around. Or if I hold down Shift, move left or right, I'm now selecting several notes that can move up or down, change octaves. Sibelius is very intuitive this way. I love it. Being able to shift notes around is really nice. Now let's say I want to add a note on top of here. I want to add an E. Let's hold down Shift and press E. And now we have it on top. Sadly, to my knowledge, there's no way of putting one under it, so you just have to select that upper note and go below it. And now if I do Shift E again, it's going to go above the top note. If I do Shift G, even though there's a G right here, it'll still go way up here. So we have to select that, move down. But like I said, you want to stay on the keyboard as much as possible. Moving between the keyboard and the mouse does take quite a bit of time. So how do we move up to this note right here without touching our mouse? Hold down Alt and move up. You can also, funny enough, grab the stem and change its size, so be careful about that. Let's go back down here. Let's say I want to get to the staff beneath. I would have to hold down Control, Alt, and down. Yes, I know this is a lot of shortcuts to remember, but trust me, taking the time to learn these shortcuts will help you overall in the end. Let's go back up here to this music without using the mouse. I'm going to set that over there. So I'm back up here. I got my awesome chord, and I want to add a dynamic to it. I could go up here to the expressions, or I can hold down Control E for expression, and now we're typing. Now we're cooking. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and put MF for mezzo forte. Now when I press escape, we have a mezzo forte. Now what kind of sucks is I'm bound here. I can't get out of here very easily. As you can see, I tried the Control and Alt, and I was not able to move. I was able to move down here, but when I'm inside here, it's not easy to get back. Easiest solution I found is holding down Shift, pressing right, and pressing right again. Now I'm out of it. Now from here, let's say I want to crescendo into the next bar. What we're going to do is hold down Shift and select all these notes, and press H for hairpin. How many of you knew it was called a hairpin before? Before using the software, I always just call it crescendo, never a hairpin. But here we have a hairpin. So again, same issue as the dynamic over there. I can't get out of it. But Shift, right, we're out of it. Let's move over here, and now we can crescendo to a forte. Awesome. So a warning about crescendos. If you want the playback to work really well, let's say this is a whole note and it's a sustained instrument like a trumpet. It will not register the crescendo if it's colliding right here. See this arrow? This arrow is pointing right here, and this arrow is pointing right here as well. They're both pointing to the same note. it will not work. But if I go out a little bit, the crescendo will play. And this also works for the final dynamic. If I have the final dynamic inside here, it's not going to reach that. It's going to crescendo to whatever it wants to do. But let's go ahead and put that back right here. And now it will properly crescendo. And you can, if you want to, move the shape of it, do all sorts of really fun stuff. But for now, let's keep it normal. In fact, let's Control Z in case I mess something up. But here we have it. We're starting to make some basic things. What I highly recommend doing is finding a piece of very easy piano music. Maybe find something out of a lead sheet and renotating it inside this software. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if that helped you out and subscribe to see more Sibelius Scholar videos.